the next speaker I have is Dr. Francisca Obiagere Owaokori.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for this opportunity to share my work with you. I'll be discussing on the topic, the jam in my mouth affects my health.
Okay, sorry, ma, are you on speaker? We have an echo, or probably you're using two devices.
Okay, let me.
Or probably someone closer to you.
I don't know why the echo is there. I need to log off. Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, it's better. Very well now. Thank you so much, ma.
You're welcome. So,
yes,
sorry about that. I will be speaking on the topic, the germs in my mouth affects my health. And this is a bibliography of me. It gives a rundown on the fact that I am a lecturer with the Department of Medical Laboratory Science, Faculty of Basic Medical Sciences, College of Medicine, the University of Lagos, where I work as an associate professor. My profession actually is medical laboratory scientist. I'm a medical laboratory scientist, so we work in the lab to be able to analyze sample. And I have specialty in medical microbiology, especially in the area of anaerobic bacteriology, looking at organisms that does not require oxygen to survive. And some of those organisms, we find them in the mouth. So my research interest lately has been on human microbiome in the oral cavity and in the gut, where they also move down to. So the germs in our mouths, as we know it, maintain the human health. And then it has been linked also to increased risk and incidence of disease conditions. So most of these conditions are actually extending beyond the mouth. And as you can see, this is the germ that we have that stays in the mouth, variety of them that stays in our mouth. And then they can also extend to other parts of the body where they cause infection. So according to the Global Oral Health Status, the oral condition has been most widest disease conditions that are affecting humans, more than you can see in other 300 diseases that are affecting the human being. So in the mouth alone, we have over 700 types of germs in the mouth, and we have the good ones and the bad ones. So the good ones are the natural ones you can see in the mouth, like the streptococcus, for those who actually know microorganisms, the fusobacterium, the eubacterium, and down to the actinomycetes. However, we also have some other ones that are really in the mouth normally that can cause infection, and some that are not even in the mouth, we acquire them from outside. So what we're saying here that some of them live in the mouth normally, but they're actually bad and they can also cause infections. Then we also try to find out what they do in the mouth. And as you can see in every community, based on folk stories, our trainers, when we were young, we were told to maintain oral health. So when you go to the community, each and every one of us here, you can see that we have disease conditions like caries, periodontitis, oral cancers. These are what you see when what these organisms do in the mouth. This is a picture taken here from our center and Department of Dentistry. We also have reports of other conditions like the cases of NOMA, which has been a very epidemic condition you see in another part of Nigeria. And it has been said to kill people more than the normal Ebola or the Lassa fever that we know. So other diseases include the cardiovascular diseases, the bacterial pneumonia, the diabetic mellitus, and even people delivering their children before their term. is also a condition that you see in people with oral infection. So it has actually been a priority for those of them in the O&G section to also have this signal to know. So what do I actually do? My activities are in the laboratory where I try to, grow these microorganisms. And then what do? We grow them in the lab. This is a typical example of where I work in the lab for this anaerobes. You can see all that. And then I also am involved in trying to collect biological samples, the saliva, the plaque, the tissue, the aspirates in part of the analysis that I do. Then we grow them and we're able to see them on a plate. These germs can actually be seen visibly. And when you look under the microscope, this is exactly what you see on the microscope when you look at them. You just think that, oh, those plaques that are in the mouth, these are the things that are involved there. So we've been able to push out the studies and concluded a lot of studies that had to do with the oral cavity. One of them is the detection of 6 periodontal pathogens that are involved in patients with chronic periodontitis in our clinic. And beyond that of culturing, I've also acquired the skills with sponsorships from Brains Grant and other activities that have been supported to be able to acquire the genomic knowledge to be able to use DNA to analyze samples. So actually extract oral DNAs and then we use it to analyze the germs in the mouth. So this is a DNA processing pathway which I usually follow to be able to analyze. And then from the point of DNA extraction to processing, quantification, and then to the DNA sequencing using next generation sequencing, we obtain results. So in doing that, too, our work has been able to look at computational biology, where we use bioinformatics to analyze the organisms. So when we do culture, what we normally see is maybe some of those organisms that can grow. Out of the 700 of them, maybe 35 are culturable. But with this computational biology, we're able to see quantums of microorganisms, variable data, biodiversity. And as you can see, this is a work we just concluded on the oral microbiome of those on denture and the denture plaque. And as you can see, the narrative is likely to change because instead of seeing the normal streptococcus that we are used to, what we are now seeing as species like Streptophonomonas that are having a higher figure. So that publication is under review now and actually tagged the team that are doing that. PhD, when I started this interest looking at the global demand for oral health, which is a priority till about 2030, like the WHO has said, I looked also at materials we have in our environment that can be able to help us inhibit the growth of this organism and maintain oral health. So I work on Garcinia coli. We're also exploring to see other plants that we use locally for our normal chewing stick to see how we can maintain oral health. I have this study on amniotic fluid, which is under review. I also have this study that I mentioned on aspiration pneumonia in the elderly. How does the oral microorganisms affect us during the older age? Maybe it's responsible for pneumonia. I wish to acknowledge all the people that have supported me so far, the Brains Grant, my department, Faculty of Basic Medical Sciences and Faculty of Dentistry that have been so wonderful. I collaborate there with so many of them. And then the oral health initiative that we have now that is also promoting that too, and to my mentors. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ma, for that wonderful presentation. We appreciate you. I think we have Dr. Molola Esther Dada now. Probably I got it wrong. It was supposed to be Dr. Motola. Am I right? Yes. Okay, Dr. Motola. All right, so thank you for joining us. Initially, we had time for speakers to do a short introduction. I will come back to that for you when it's time for your presentation. Your presentation will come after this next speaker, which is Dr. Joy. So I'm just letting you know so that you prepare yourself, Ma. And also, initially, we announced that all speakers have 10 minutes for each of their presentation. So I just said that I should pass that information across to you, Ma. Okay, so the next speaker we have is Dr. Joy Odimegu. That's Dr. J.I. Odimegu. Thank you, Ma. The floor is for you.
Thank you very much, Esther. Please, can I share my screen now?
Okay, you can go ahead, Ma.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It just turned 12 o'clock now. I'm very happy to be here. I'm Dr. Joy Odimebu from the Department of Pharmacognosy, Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Lagos. I'm thrilled to be here because I know that women in STEM, we need to be more visible, and the work we do in the continent and in Nigeria particularly is very important, and it needs to be shown to the whole world. So thank you, Dr. Convener, for this beautiful initiative.
Thank you, ma'am. We can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about, my research area. I'm interested and work on cancer prevention and drug formulations, pain relief, infection biology, foods as medicine, which is exactly what I'm talking about today, and nature conservation. I have written 2 books in some of these areas, foods and hormones, that talking about phytoestrogens in edible plants, and antibiotic plants. It came out this year. So I'm going to be talking about brain foods for great mental health. And we know that in the development of ICT, now we see everybody on social media. We get to know that a lot more people are affected adversely by what is happening in the world. Their mental health is, it affects everybody, but some people more than others. So if you look at the picture I have here, we have the doctrine of signatures. You have this picture of the temperate walnut and the picture of the African walnut. The one on the right, to me, I suppose left to the viewers, is more familiar to all of us. But you see this as doctrine, we see this in pharmacognosy as doctrine of signatures. This walnut seed is like a brain within the husk, within the, like the human brain in the skull. And you have this seed in the husk of the walnut and the real walnut within. So I'll take up my talk from there. So mental well-being, I'm going to be talking about mental well-being, stress, stressors, aging, food that helps. So mental well-being, essentially, very briefly summarized, is ability to be and feel in control. Because sometimes we get so overwhelmed. Right now in Nigeria, people are a bit worried. People living in the northern part of Nigeria are worried and thinking about possibility that there may be a war with Niger. And then all over the world, people are worried about COVID, that in the news, we're hearing that a new variant is out. So we are all beginning to remember again what happened in 2020 with COVID shutdown and vaccinations and sickness and death of many people. So there's a lot happening. And then also in Nigeria, there's a lot of economic upheaval, with a new government trying to stabilize, and people are, wondering with the fuel prices, that there's a lot happening. So when we can consider ourselves to be at least reasonably in good health mentally, is when we have ability to be and to feel that we're in control. These things are happening, but am I able to control myself? Then stress. Everyone is stressed, including babies. I added this here because when parents are stressed, their children are stressed. Without even saying a word, just that anxiety that comes in the family circle affects everyone. So this talk is essentially for everybody. And of course, everybody eats food. Aging is a natural process. But the beautiful thing is that with a lot of technology, a lot of knowledge being shared, people are realizing that 70 is the new 40. With exercise, eating well, one can actually see, I don't know, I've seen a lot of pictures of people on social media who are 70 or even 80, and they still go to the gym and they're driving cars and they're well. In fact, anecdotally, one of my friends got married last month and she was 50. So anything is possible. And I'll quote John Collins about something. She said something like this: I don't know why people are so obsessed with age anyway. I mean, 90 is the new 70. 70 is the new 50, and 50 is the new 40. So the whole act your age thing only up to a point. So, because some people can be a bit, you shouldn't do certain things because of your age. If you are well and able, go ahead. Especially things of physical exercise, especially when people have lived a long and fruitful, active life. When they stop, it's detrimental to their health. Yes, so do whatever gives you joy and brings joy to others, especially the one that gives joy to others. Giving, generosity gives a lot of joy. And when I'm talking about giving, I'm not talking about material things. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about giving oneself, listening. Just the mere act of listening to somebody can do a lot for the person's well-being. So all these come together because we're talking about food, we're talking about well-being. We start from there. There has to be a conversation somewhere. Food helps a lot. We're talking about mental health, well-being. When somebody is full, then the person is in a good place. A hungry person is an angry person. This goes without doubt. All of us have this experience. So first of all, there has to be the basic minimum of food, enough food to eat. And that's why this talk is very important to me, because all of us can do something to improve our well-being and those of our families. Food helps. And I'm going straight into the foods that help. We have a lot of vegetables, we have a lot of fruits, we have a lot of seeds that we eat, that we are eating them for nutrition. We know that vegetables give vitamin, and it has fiber that helps with bowel movement. But I'm here to tell you that vegetables have much more than that. Also, because we have an international audience looking at this, I want to bring in some of the local vegetables that we have in Nigeria that are not known elsewhere. And I'll introduce another aspect to this. Let us be open to what other people eat and the way they eat it to improve our well-being. I have a picture of Iyanopaja here. In Nigeria, it's called Hospital Too Far. That if you have this, you will not be sick. It's regarded as, in Yoruba language, bobo nishe, because it has a lot of phytoconstituents, compounds. Phytoconstituents is the science. For people that are not in science, phytoconstituents are compounds that act in the body medicinally. They go to the organs to help to make us feel well. Now we're talking about mental well-being. With eating Iyanopaja, which is a leafy green, and leafy greens have some quantity of omega-3 that works in our brains. So when we're eating these foods, many people look at vegetables as, okay, the way my parents have brought me up, I need it for nutrition. Good, very important. But then, can we look at them also as medicine, pleasant medicine? Because everybody loves food. But many of us, when we're eating, we're not looking at it like, I'm eating pleasant medicine, okay? So then that's the Iyanopaja, that is rich with a lot of vitamins and phytoconstituents and compounds that are healthy. The jute plant.
I want you to download images.
Oh,
images.
Is the voice directed at me?
No, ma. I'm trying to find who is that so that we can meet the person.
Fine.
You can
so
go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay,
yes,
thanks. So we have the jute plant, which we know as ewedu. Ewedu is actually a superfood. And I want all of us, after listening to this talk, to go back and talk to people in our environments about the power of ewedu plant. In the east, where I come from, the eastern part of Nigeria, we eat ewedu by chopping it, like we chop green, okay, for some kinds of food, you may not be able to use the blended. So ewedu is sourced with iron that eat to build the blood. Some people that don't want to go for transfusion can concentrate on taking ewedu every day as food and build up their blood. And this is wives' tales. No, this is real, evidence-based, because sometimes we overlook our own things and we're looking out to other, we have the things here with us. And the weed is so easy to grow. So now I'm preaching that people, instead of having only flowers on your balcony or in a pot in your house, why don't you grow these annuals? Annuals in the sense that it grows in a year, dies in a year, and continues growing. It's not difficult to grow. It grows in the rainy season or the dry season, because it's very good to have this in the home and use it to supplement our diet, not to be taking the capsules and the tablets as supplements. Food is the real medicine. Then we look at water leaf plant that is also nutrient dense and has many compounds that also help the brain. Then I'm going to talk about kale plants and lettuce plants. Many people may not know kale, but it grows here. It's one of the cruciferous vegetables that has broccoli, cauliflower. For us here, they are temperate and they can be a bit expensive. But kale is one of the easier ones to grow. Kale contains some compounds that help to modulate estrogen for women. Since a number of us here are women, it's important that you know that there are some vegetables that, especially when people are having fibroids, there's estrogen dominance. Looking at the food you eat, essentially what I'm trying to say is we have to become intentional in the way we eat and in the way we feed our families and our workers or whoever is around us, when we're intentional in eating the right things. And sometimes, okay, if it's out of season, it's a bit more expensive. Why don't I grow my own? Why not? It's possible. So kale is another superfood. In fact, all the vegetables here are superfoods. So let us look again at what makes up my diet in a day. And how does that diet affect my mental health? How I reason when there's stressors and I'm anxious? Does what I eat make it worse or better? Lettuce is also another beautiful vegetable that is very available for us that also contains omega-3 and omega-6 that's also known. Researchers have found out that they help with great brain health. Foods help. Osimum, that we call ephedrine. You have the basil. Now, there's a very interesting story about osimum plants with COVID that has to do with COVID. Now, I have some colleagues in India where I studied for my PhD, and I kept in touch with them, and they were telling me that many of their elderly ones were advised. In India, it's called tulsi. So they take it as tea. They get a few leaves, cut it up, put in a glass, pour hot water, and sip. It's preventative for viral infections. We use this in our stews and soups, and we have not heard of Africans that take this tea. It's understandable because we live in the tropics, so we're not looking at to take in hot water again. But now we're talking about COVID is around it's possible because people travel all over the world. So is it possible to look at this as a way that I can prevent myself to boost my immunity not to get the COVID? Then ugu plant is like a wedu. It has a lot of potentials. It works in building the blood. So kidney beans, that's a legume with our kidney. Black beans have a lot of omega-3 that helps with brain health. When we eat these natural foods, well prepared, then we find ourselves feeling better, and then as if the things are within our control. A kidney can actually be grown in a pot in our backyard or in our balcony because the leaves are beautiful. All these plants have beautiful leaves that we can use as horticultural plants. So why not? Because sometimes we are looking at, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that to make me feel better. I have to go and take medicines when the medicines is right there in our backyard or in the bush behind our homes. Food helps. Roasted breadfruit seeds and cashew nuts. Cashew nuts are well known to contain zinc, and the zinc is known to affect the brain positively, to reduce anxiety and also for sleep, to improve sleep. Then roasted breadfruit seeds is chock full of protein and very healthy. Now, this may not be available in some other parts of the world, But many people living in Nigeria are unaware of the good things that we have. So my contribution to the Soapbox Science presentation and talk for this year is to bring ourselves back home. Those things that we have, those foods that we have that are so good. They taste good, and they're also good for our mental health. They're also good for our bodies. So apart from the nutrient, now we're not only thinking about the nutrients, we're thinking about as medicine. Thank you so much for listening. You can reach me with the email address that I have there. I'm also very active on Twitter and on LinkedIn. I can answer any questions immediately or afterwards if we don't have time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma, for that wonderful presentation. Thank you. We really appreciate that. More grace and more knowledge. We pray in Jesus' name. Thank you, Ma. And we hope when we call you again, we have more insight of what we should eat and what we should stop eating. So although I have questions, so I'm going to leave my questions too till ending of when we finish the whole presentation. Okay.